Hi, friends, welcome back to the Time with Rella podcast. Now, in this moment where I am feeling a little down, a little worried, dealing with the energy of uncertainty, I found that a gift that somebody gave me works perfectly, and that is what I'm using to record this episode. Let's see how it goes because I'm recording outside. In this episode, let's talk about how and what to do in tough moments like this. I am dealing with my tough moment, and it's making me face myself. Yes, I've written letters to myself. Yes, my mind keeps comforting me and reminding me that I am enough and things like that. And sometimes you need to cry a little, and that's what I've done in like 2 days now. A little bit of tears. This is why they say when you're dealing with adulting, yeah, adulting, you have to schedule a few days in the month to cry. Because yes, you have moments to laugh, moments to do other things, but tough moments, just like the moments that are not so tough, come and go. Now, while we're talking about what to do with tough moments, one thing I'll say I've learned on this adulting journey is that the stress from life happening, the stress from things happening around you, it could be financial. For me, it's mostly financial right now, and it could be financial, it could be anything, it could be work, it could be career, it could be relationship. The stress from life happening, yeah, like even as little as maybe you not getting like electricity or power supply can stress you out so much that you feel that your life is completely shit. That even happened to me yesterday. I freaked out a little bit, and then I had to ground myself and remind myself that I see every problem has a solution. And in those tough moments, what happens is that we forget sometimes, we forget that every problem has a solution. We forget that, because something is tough now doesn't mean every other thing in your life is shit. And that was like a huge epiphany for me yesterday, that yes, I see why maybe we might just our life like an era in our life may not be going the way we planned, but then we might take that out on every other thing or every other person that's connected to us. Even quick judgment, judging ourselves. And for me, during this financial journey that I am experiencing, one thing is helping me, it's helping me face or uncover the underlying beliefs I have myself when it centers around money. I mean, this is something that I started working on long time ago, but this moment kind of like brings more of it to light. These moments kind of like show me that um sorry, these moments kind of like show me that there are still some underlying beliefs, or I need to still keep practicing to shift out of that mindset or belief that maybe because I am not financially where I want to be, I am inadequate, something like that. But that's not true. And sometimes, because of maybe how we've been navigating life for long, and making it seem like or putting our self-worth on based on our productivity, our account balance, or the things that we can do, we can sometimes slip into this line of thought. So one thing I'm basically doing in these moments is learning a different pattern to navigate. So sometimes when judgment comes, my mind kind of like soothes me out of it, because it's taking a while. I've built a healthy relationship with myself. It doesn't mean that sometimes negative thoughts won't flow, but when it flows, I am not overwhelmed by it. I just question why I'm feeling that way. But now, what my subconscious does for me is just remind me, you're enough, or it could be that's not true. Why are you talking like that? That's mean. Just being the observer, and I'm grateful for that because that's taken a lot of work to be able to do that. I think I've talked about it in one of my YouTube videos, but we could also talk about it here. I had to actively create counter thoughts to change my negative mindset. Yeah. So in tough moments, because those are the moments that those things will show up. I know it will even show up in moments that are not tough, which is maybe even as even simple situations as someone doing nice things for us, we start to judge it or think negatively about it. So what I'll say is, if you're dealing with this, what you could do in that tough moment is create counter thoughts that can help, whatever it is. And see, a lot of us don't know how much we put our self worth on money or our financial capabilities here, and when we're unable to pay for certain things for ourselves or unable to do certain things for ourselves, we start to feel inadequate, we start to think in ways that are unhelpful to us. So these are moments where you create counter words, counter thoughts, yeah, to counter that negative belief. And it's with practice. You keep doing it till it becomes a part of you. And this is why I'm able to get to the point whereby even if a negative thought slips in, I'm able to soothe myself out of it or reframe that thought process. So it's an interesting journey on my path, and I keep learning. So I'm dealing with a tough moment, yes, because I'm doing things that are very unfamiliar. I'm being more unfamiliar because it's putting me in a position of vulnerability. Yes, being open, being exposed to other people's thoughts, opinions, and judgment, and that is unfamiliar for me. Yeah, so that's why I say it's unfamiliar, and it's putting me in a place of uncertainty where you're like, oh, you don't even know what's going to happen in the future. So I find myself in that tough moment, struggling. And one of the reasons why I'll say we struggle is because when we're navigating moments of maybe uncertainty or things we haven't navigated before, we fear will kick in a lot of things. We will express a lot of emotions, thoughts during that moment because these are things that we cannot control. It's out of our control. And even for me, that in my own ways I try to control things, this is a level of vulnerability that I am stepping into. Now, you know that we talked about even hosting a wellness picnic. I had to move it back, and I'm grateful that I can be honest about why I had to move it back. We didn't meet the ticket sale goals that we wanted to, and the time frame, because I was trying to put it before the election in Ghana. But instead, I remember having certain people around you who encourage you. You didn't know what, because my friend was like, "See, don't cancel it altogether." Because for people to have paid, meaning there are people there that are still interested. Maybe the time frame is short, so move it back. Yes, no rush. Move it back, and for moving it back, I decided that, you know what, I don't want to sit in the grass because during December is where Hammertown comes. Yes, I know there's climate change as well, but just looking out for that. And I also kind of like, people want to go to dinner, so and I already started dinner with my friends personally. Then now I'm doing a dinner instead. So that's something that I'll call maybe being flexible. And I think there's somebody that talks about this. You have your goals, have your plan, but be flexible to be able to change or adapt to the change that is happening. And I'll say this is what can help during those tough moments. So the first one I mentioned was having counter thoughts, counter actions, counter beliefs to counter that maybe negative mindset or limiting beliefs that may be existing, but and also being flexible, being able to change and go with the way things are changing, because I mean these are things we can't control. So this moment of feeling a lot of tough things. One other thing I like to remind myself is I'm enough, and there's a reason why I do that. And I'm enough, and it's happening worse in your head. That's true. One thing is, when we are going through these things, our mind likes to come up with certain explanations or scenarios, even trying to predict people's behaviors or response. and we find ourselves leaning most times towards the negative stuff. So sometimes I have to call myself back and no, this person has never said this thing to you before. Don't do that. Don't judge. So I had that kind of relationship with my mind or my self that when I'm feeling or moving a certain way that I know is unhealthy or not authentic to who or the person I am, I call myself back. Certain things that people will say, yeah, you might take them in several ways, but I'll call myself back. I say, no, this person has never acted this way. Don't do that. Don't judge them. Just stay open. And it happens several times. Yeah, it's like I'll say how we counter overthinking. If you overthink, if you're someone like me who sometimes overthinks, it's also a nice practice to be able to call yourself back to the moment, present moment, and look at facts. The facts that you cannot read mind. Despite the person's actions, despite the way some certain things are delivered, you cannot read minds. And this is maybe time that you ask for more clarity or more communication. But if you can't, keep an open mind. Be generous with your assumptions. That's why I think it was the four agreements says have no assumptions, good or bad. Yeah, just stay open. It can be uncomfortable, but with practice it gets better. So I'm sure that apart from me going through this tough moment right now, there may be other people going through it as well. I hope that we are able to stay kind to ourselves. That whatever it is you're building, if you're like me, you're building a business, you're doing something unfamiliar, you're creating. I hope that in this moment we're able to show ourselves a little more grace and compassion and be open to change, be open to not having control, not being able to predict the future. And doing this podcast in this moment kind of like brings me into a state of flow, into being grounded in what I'm doing. So let me talk about the final one or the final thing for this episode. Is I realized or I'm trying to adopt the concept of slow living. It's something that I've known for a while, but I brought it back to my notice. You see, this is the thing about self improvement. You never have it figured out fully. Even healing, there's no goal. It's like a journey where you keep learning about yourself, you keep healing, you keep growing, basically. So I was walking to the cafe this morning and I was just thinking about the art of slow living. Why? Because I realized that I have been living in the future. I call myself back to the present moment several times because our minds can't help it sometimes. We have great imagination, very creative minds, and we need to be able to anchor back to the present moment. So I realized that I have been focusing too much on the future or in the future, thinking about like how I want. Okay, for example, the dinner is coming up. I'll say that the future is it's happening. The future is getting the number of people I want to attend the dinner as well. But there are other things that are in the present moment, which is now building up to that moment, things that my focus should be on. But there are a lot of sometimes things can happen that will shift you out of the present moment, put you in a state of overwhelm or feeling anxious. So you gradually have to anchor yourself back to the present moment. So if you're having a tough moment like I am, I hope this podcast episode resonates with you. With my podcast episodes, I hope anybody who listens to it doesn't think that I am perfect. I really hope so. I hope that you recognize that I am sharing my journey with you, sharing everything I'm learning from wherever it is with you. And I hope that you too will pick it, but also find something that works for you. I'm all for finding healthier ways to navigate adulthood, navigate life, which is what the time with Rella is about. Sharing our stories, sharing our journeys, learning from each other, building or creating a healthier and happier life. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode. See you in the next one. Bye.